The most expensive thing you will ever own is something you got for free. Read that again. Not the car with the loan, not the mortgage that took 30 years. The thing that cost you nothing at the register. That's what's draining your account right now, quietly, systematically, with the precision of a Swiss watch. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is mathematics. This is neuroscience. This is a machine built by some of the smartest people on the planet, and it runs on one word: free. Free. 4 letters, $0, infinite cost. Here's what nobody tells you. The word free doesn't just describe a price, it rewires your brain, literally, chemically, measurably. When your eyes read the word free, your prefrontal cortex, the rational, calculating part of your mind, goes quiet, and something much older, much more primitive takes over. It's not a metaphor. Neuroscientists at MIT and Carnegie Mellon have documented what they call the zero price effect, a cognitive phenomenon where the brain responds to zero cost, not as a low price, but as an entirely different category of experience. It's not a cheap thing, it's a free thing. And free things bypass your cost-benefit calculator entirely. Think of it like gravity. Not like a slope you can resist if you try hard enough, like actual gravitational pull. If you step off a roof, you don't fall because you're weak. You fall because the physics demand it. That's what free does to your decision-making. It pulls you in before your rational mind can even form a sentence. And the companies that built this system, the gaming studios, the SaaS platforms, the app developers, the subscription services, they didn't discover this by accident. They ran thousands of A/B tests. They hired behavioral psychologists. They optimized every pixel, every notification, every reward cycle to maximize the gravitational pull. You're not fighting a salesperson. You're fighting orbital mechanics. And like gravity, there's only one way to escape it. You have to understand the physics first. So let's talk about the first mechanism. Call it the foot-in-the-door tax. It's the oldest trick in the book, and it works better now than it ever has in human history. The psychology behind it was first documented in a 1966 study by Friedman and Fraser at Stanford, where researchers found that people who agreed to a small, trivial request, putting a tiny sign in their window, were later dramatically more likely to agree to a massive, unreasonable request, letting strangers install a giant billboard on their front lawn. The principle is simple. Once you say yes once, your brain needs to stay consistent with that yes. Psychologists call it commitment and consistency bias. Your identity, once attached to a decision, defends that decision. Now take that principle and put it inside a mobile game. Candy Crush, Clash of Clans, any freemium game you've ever downloaded. The first day is free. The first week is free. You're having fun. Your brain is building a habit loop. Check, play, reward, repeat. By day 14, you've invested time. You've built a village, leveled a character, unlocked a storyline. You've said yes to this game 60 times, and now it asks you for $1.99 to skip a waiting timer. That $1.99 is not a purchase. That $1.99 is the price of staying consistent with the version of yourself who already committed. You're not buying a game feature. You're buying relief from psychological dissonance. The game isn't free. It was a free loan on your identity, and the interest just came due. The data backs this up with brutal clarity. According to mobile analytics firm Sensor Tower, the top 1% of mobile gamers, the so-called whales, spend an average of over $550 per month on in-app purchases. But more revealing is what happens in the middle. The average monetized user in a freemium game spends between $24 and $87 per month, often more than a flat subscription to a premium game with no ads and no tricks. The free game costs more. Not occasionally, systematically. The math isn't accidental, it's the business model. The practical exit from this trap is not willpower. Willpower is the wrong tool. You can't out-resist gravity with determination. What you can do is remove yourself from the gravitational field before it locks on. Before you download any free app or game, ask one question. What does the company monetize? If the answer isn't immediately obvious and completely comfortable to you, close the App Store. Free things don't have mysterious business models. Expensive things disguised as free things do. But the foot in the door tax is just the beginning, because once they've got your foot in the door, they use time. Not your time, your brain's time. There's a mechanism called the sunk cost vortex, and it is one of the most financially destructive forces in modern consumer psychology. Here's how it works. The human brain is wired to weight losses more heavily than gains. This was documented extensively by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, who won the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences for their work on prospect theory. The core finding? Losing $100 feels roughly twice as painful as gaining $100 feels good. This asymmetry shapes every financial decision you make, and every sophisticated marketer on the planet knows it. Now combine that with the concept of sunk costs, resources you've already spent that you can't get back, and you have a trap with no visible walls. Imagine you've been using a free project management tool for 6 months. You've imported your data, trained your team, built your workflows. You've invested 40 hours of your own time and 100 hours of your team's time. The service announces it's changing to a paid model at $29 per month. You calculate, is this tool worth $29 per month? But that's not the question your brain is actually answering. Your brain is asking, can I afford to lose the 6 months and 140 hours I already put in? Those are sunk costs. They're gone, regardless of your decision. But psychologically, they feel like they're on the line. So you pay the $29, then $39 when the price goes up, then $49. And you never switch, because switching means admitting the sunk cost, and your brain cannot make peace with that admission. This is exactly why Dropbox, Evernote, Spotify, and dozens of other platforms follow the same playbook. Give away the basic product. Let you pour your data, your music library, your files, your memories into it. Make switching painful. Then raise prices. The free tier isn't the product. The free tier is the trap door. The product is your inertia 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 5 years from now. They're not giving you something for free. They're lending you a gravitational anchor, and you won't feel its weight until you try to move. The way out requires making the decision before you're inside the vortex, not while you're spinning in it. When you adopt any free platform or service for serious work, set a calendar reminder for 90 days out. At that checkpoint, ask yourself, if this tool became paid tomorrow, would I buy it at its likely market price? If the answer is no, migrate your data now, while switching costs are still low. That's not paranoia, that's financial hygiene. Wealthy people are not emotionally attached to tools, they're attached to outcomes. There's a difference, and it compounds over decades. Then there's the third mechanism, and it operates in real time, below conscious awareness. Call it the dopamine drain. Your brain has a reward system built on a neurotransmitter called dopamine. This system evolved over millions of years to reward behaviors that kept your ancestors alive, finding food, spotting danger, connecting with other humans. Dopamine fires not when you receive a reward, but when you anticipate one. The uncertainty itself is the drug. This is why gambling is addictive. It's why social media is addictive. And it's exactly why free trials, free spins, free loot boxes, and free daily rewards are engineered the way they are. Consider the structure of a casino's free play offer. You walk in, they give you $20 in free chips. You play. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. But either way, the dopamine system activates. The brain experiences the reward cycle: anticipation, outcome, anticipation, outcome. By the time the free chips run out, your dopamine system is primed. It has learned this environment delivers rewards. It wants more. And now, critically, you are standing inside a casino with your wallet in your pocket. The $20 was not a gift, it was a primer coat. It was the first hit of a very carefully calibrated drug, offered for free because the next hit costs money. Digital products do this with extraordinary precision. Free trials specifically end at moments designed to maximize your desire. Netflix gives you 30 days, which is just long enough to start a TV series but not finish it. Free language apps like Duolingo structure their streak mechanics so that breaking the streak feels like loss, and buying a streak repair costs real money. Loot boxes in video games, many of which are marketed as free bonuses, use variable ratio reward schedules, the same psychological mechanism as slot machines, to keep your dopamine system in a state of chronic anticipation. The National Center for Responsible Gambling published research connecting loot box mechanics to problem gambling behavior in adolescence, and the mechanisms are identical because the neuroscience is identical. Free box. Open it. Maybe something good, maybe nothing. Your brain doesn't know, and not knowing is the point. The practical defense against the dopamine drain is not abstinence. That's neither realistic nor necessary. It's pattern recognition. When something is free and it makes you feel excited, pause. Describe out loud what you're feeling excited about. Is it the product itself, or is it the uncertainty, the anticipation, the potential? If it's the latter, you're not experiencing value, you're experiencing a stimulus, and stimuli can be designed by other people to serve other people's interests. Recognizing the feeling is the first step. Naming it removes some of its power. It sounds almost too simple, but the neuroscience supports it. Labeling an emotional state activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces the amygdala's grip on your behavior. Now, here's where it gets structural. There's a mechanism that operates not on your psychology, but on your time. Call it the attention rent. And this one affects every single person reading this, regardless of whether you've ever bought a loot box or downloaded a freemium game. The business model of virtually every free service you use, Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Gmail, is based on one core transaction. You give them your attention. They sell it to advertisers. You are not the customer, you are the product. This is not a metaphor. This is the literal structure of the revenue model. Facebook's 2022 annual report shows that over 97% of its revenue came from advertising. Google, over 80%. These companies do not survive without your eyeballs. Your attention is the inventory they are selling. This matters financially in a way most people never calculate. Studies on advertising effectiveness, including research published in the Journal of Consumer Research and work by behavioral economist Richard Thaler, consistently show that repeated exposure to advertising increases purchase intent and decreases price sensitivity. In plain English, the more ads you see, the more you want to buy things, and the less you care what they cost. Being a user of free, ad-supported platforms isn't neutral. It's a slow, steady process of having your consumer preferences shaped and your financial resistance eroded. You become a better, more profitable customer for every company that advertises to you. The free service is training you to spend money. Not somewhere abstract, in the real world, on real things, with real dollars from your real bank account. The math on this is uncomfortable. Let's say you spend 3 hours per day on ad-supported platforms, a conservative estimate for the average American adult based on data from eMarketer. Over a year, that's over 1,000 hours of advertising exposure. If even 2% of the ads you see prompt an unplanned purchase of $30, a modest estimate, that's 20 purchases, $600 per year. That's the financial cost of free social media. Not in subscription fees, in the purchases you wouldn't have made if you hadn't been systematically exposed to 3 hours of daily advertising. This number compounds year after year, decade after decade, and it never shows up on a bill. Which is precisely why almost nobody calculates it. The response to the attention rent is not to delete every app, though some people do find that valuable. It is, at minimum, to treat ad exposure like caloric intake. There's a budget. When you go over it, there are consequences. Pay for ad-free tiers where you can. Use an ad blocker. And when you feel a sudden desire to buy something you weren't thinking about an hour ago, trace back through your recent media consumption. Where did the idea come from? Was it yours, or was it planted? Wealthy consumers are not better people. They are more deliberate consumers. They make purchasing decisions from internal lists, not from impulses activated by external stimuli. That habit is worth more over a lifetime than any salary difference. And then there's the fifth mechanism, the one that operates at the infrastructure level, invisible to almost everyone who isn't running a business. Call it the data debt. Every time you use a free service, you are generating data, search queries, purchasing patterns, location history, emotional response patterns, tracked through which content you engage with, which posts you linger on, which ads you scroll past versus stop at. This data is collected, aggregated, modeled, and sold or used to predict and influence your future behavior with increasing precision. The more data a company has on you, the more accurately they can predict what you'll buy, when you'll buy it, and how much you'll pay. And they use that accuracy to extract the maximum possible amount from you. Amazon is the most sophisticated practitioner of this in consumer retail. Their recommendation engine, built on years of your purchase and browsing data, doesn't just suggest products you might like. It dynamically adjusts the price you see based on what their models predict you're willing to pay. This practice, called personalized dynamic pricing, is legal, widespread, and almost entirely invisible. A study by Northeastern University researchers found that Amazon's prices fluctuate millions of times per day. Users who browse in ways that signal higher intent or higher income see higher prices. Your free Amazon account, your free Prime trial, your free browsing is feeding the machine that sets your prices. The data you generated for free is being used to charge you more than someone else pays for the exact same product. This is not paranoia. This is documented. The Congressional Research Service, the Federal Trade Commission, and academic researchers across multiple institutions have published findings confirming that personalized pricing based on behavioral data is active in e-commerce. The free service extracted your data. The data trained a model. The model maximizes revenue extraction from you specifically. Free input, expensive output. The defense here is behavioral friction, deliberately varying your browsing patterns, using incognito mode for price comparison, clearing cookies before major purchases, and using tools like Camel to track Amazon price history before buying. These aren't perfect solutions, but they reintroduce noise into the system. They make your behavioral profile less precise. Less precision means less optimized extraction. Every bit of friction you add back into the data collection process saves you money, not through willpower, through mechanics. This is not a values argument. It's an engineering argument. You are the target. Changing your behavior changes the targeting. Now step back and look at all 5 mechanisms together. The foot-in-the-door tax, the sunk cost vortex, the dopamine drain, the attention rent, the data debt. None of them are random. None of them are coincidences. They are interlocking components of a single, unified machine. And that machine was built to do one thing: convert your money into someone else's profit through the door labeled free. The researchers Dan Ariely and Christina Champagnier ran a series of experiments at MIT, published in the journal Marketing Science, where they offered people a choice between a high-quality chocolate for 15 cents and a mediocre chocolate for 1 cent. Most people chose the high-quality chocolate. Then they reduced both prices by 1 cent. The high-quality chocolate cost 14 cents. The mediocre chocolate was free. Suddenly, the majority shifted to the mediocre chocolate, even though the relative value hadn't changed at all. Zero didn't just lower the price, it changed the entire decision architecture. People weren't comparing products anymore. They were responding to the word free as though it were a completely different category of thing. That's the gravitational field. It bends the trajectory of every decision that passes near it. And the field isn't getting weaker. Every year, the technology that delivers free experiences becomes more sophisticated, more personalized, more neurologically precise. The companies operating in this space are not going to become less good at this. They're going to become better, infinitely better, which means the gap between people who understand the physics and people who don't is going to grow. Not as a moral gap, as a financial one, measured in dollars, measured in decades. People who build real wealth aren't paying less, they're paying differently. They pay upfront, in money, for things that have clear, transparent costs. They avoid systems that charge them invisibly over time through attention, data, and psychological manipulation. A wealthy person pays $15 per month for ad-free music, instead of spending 3 years being advertised to for free. A wealthy person buys software outright rather than feeding data into a system that will use that data to extract more money later. A wealthy person makes a decision and pays its actual cost, because they know that cost is always lower than the hidden cost of free. Always, without exception. The math is not close. This is not about having money to spend on paid products. It is about understanding that the calculus of free versus paid is backward for almost every significant financial decision you'll ever make. The question is never, can I get this for free? The question is always, what does free actually cost me here? And is that cost higher or lower than the paid alternative? For small, trivial things, free is sometimes genuinely free. A free pen at a bank, a free sample of cheese at a grocery store. These are not engineered dopamine systems, they're just small gifts. The skill is distinguishing between the genuinely free and the expensively free. And that skill is built through exactly the kind of analysis we've been doing here, understanding the mechanism, naming the trap, changing the behavior before the trap springs. There is a physicist named Freeman Dyson who once said that science is not a collection of facts, but a way of thinking. The same is true of financial intelligence. It's not a collection of rules, don't buy lattes, don't pay full price, always negotiate. It's a way of thinking, a habit of asking, what is the actual structure of this offer? Who benefits if I accept? What am I trading that I'm not being asked to consciously acknowledge? When you apply that thinking to free things, to every free thing, the gravitational pull loses its power. Not because you've become some kind of superhuman rational actor, because you've changed your position relative to the field. You're no longer standing on the edge of the roof. You've moved back to safe ground, where the physics work in your favor instead of against you. The door is right in front of you. It doesn't say free, it says clear, transparent cost, the thing you're trading, stated honestly, agreed to consciously. That door leads somewhere better. Not because the paid path is morally superior, because it's mechanically superior. Because when you know exactly what you're paying, you can decide if it's worth it. And when you can decide, you are in control. Not the algorithm, not the behavioral economist working for the app company, not the dynamic pricing engine adjusting your rates in real time. You. That's the entire game. That's all it is. See the system, name the mechanism, change your position. The physics are already on your side. They were always on your side. You just needed to understand where you were standing.